Guten Abend,
Good evening,
liebe Kinder,
dear
liebe Damen
children, ladies and gentlemen.
Ein bisschen verwirrend, das ist wie beim Fußball hier.
It's kind of confusing, just like with soccer. We're going to start. Almost each generation had, at some point in their life, the feeling that the world is going to go down, it's going to collapse, and they build facilities to survive, but the world kept on turning, and now we are at this point. And I'm not against change, but does this have to happen now while I'm here? Machines are becoming more intelligent. Everyone's going mad. Just as before, each time a new level has been reached, systems collapse. And so now people try to use digitalization for their means. So congrats to you if you've not gone mad yet. And we're confronted with idiocy, with numbness. And, you know, there's a lot of bad ideas out there, Nazis, and it would be great if each of us could build their own tools for resilience to defend democracy. And our territory is the net, the internet. I invented it, and that's why we're here today. We are the founders of the PEP Foundation to defend human rights, to defend privacy, and we're going to start today with you all to repair the internet. And how this works, we're going to show you today. As not to be too boring, Kreiter is going to play some music throughout our talk.
schöne Internet, was irgendwann mal der Traum von einer
The beautiful internet, which used to be the dream of communication without borders, all of us engaging with one another, a grateful world full of friends, has been hacked. We are constantly being surveilled, our data is misused, and Professor Dirk Helbing from the Technical University in Zurich is going to tell us more about this. Sibylle, Hernâni. Recently, I was bored at around 11 p.m., surfed around the net, and thought, you know, just open up this website where the World Wide Web has been invented, CERN. And I leafed through the pages, and I saw this link, very small, c.i.r. So what's this? And I clicked on it, and there was this login screen. In the background, letters flowed from top to bottom. So, oh, this must be the matrix. So the password was, you know, a little bit trickier. Circle, that wasn't it. And then some other geometrical objects. And finally, octagon. That worked. I don't know why. And suddenly I was in. And then this female voice started talking to me from somewhere. Hello, Dirk. And I said, how do you know who you are? And she said, well, you know, the camera in your laptop, the way you type, the way you move your mouse cursor. I know who you are. I know everything about you. And by the way, I know everything about all other 7 billion people living on Earth. And I thought, this can't be true. Could you, like, prove this to me? Where have you gotten all these data? And she was like, no problem. You know, the cameras on the street, CCTV, your smartphone, your computer, the IoT fridge, your smart TV. You know, everything that's all electronic devices, basically. They record everything. And I sort of put this all together and use it to see the world and see into your future. And I couldn't believe this, and I was like, you know, can you prove this? Show my data to me. And so I printed it, actually. So this is like 1,000 of the data that I produce per day. It's like a gigabyte. So it starts with helping, basically my name's misspelled, birth date, an estimated age, 45, I got lucky, and then the probabilistic date of death. I'm gonna get shot, and then, you know, some details in parentheses, my accounts, email accounts, all the ones I've long forgotten about, with the passwords for them, and all of those photos I've never seen even, in some hotel shower rooms, on some parties, photos from work, and, you know, timetables, how much time I spent drinking coffee, talking to employees, if I was tired, and so on. And then, of course, health. You know, they totally screened me. So my iPods did like a hearing test. Everything seems fine. My blood group, I don't know about that even, and a genetic test, and all of my diseases. Recently I got a cold, went to the doctor, this is all in here. Got a little tipsy, that's in here as well recently. And then, of course, all of my friends. Mein heart isn't on there, but, you know, since we're not announced for this event. You know, we're sort of here incognito. And then, of course, my consumption habits, what I eat, what I bought, sorted by category, 65% vegetarian, 12% vegan, and a little bit of carnivore in there. This is, you know, my phases of weakness. And then it continues, it goes on. My psychology, a psychogram, an analysis of my personality. I'm an incurable optimist, and I've got stage fright, and this one I really can't believe. It says that my doctor misdiagnosed me, gave me the wrong diagnoses. The computer is very sure about that, and it continues, it goes on and on. It's really incredible. And the question is, what does this mean? Yeah, so I started thinking about that, and as I mentioned, since this happened, I didn't get any sleep. And in the end, I think that society is not just being totally surveilled, but it's gonna lead to a cybernetic, a data-driven, algorithmically controlled society. And basically, we already live in this new form of capitalism, in the surveillance capitalism, in which we are the goods being traded, and we can't defend ourselves. The new currency is data. Data is the new oil. You've heard that before. But there's also a new economic structure, attention economy. Our senses are being overridden with data. We can be manipulated. There's a new judiciary called Code's Law. Algorithms decide what they can do and what they can't do, and we can't have a say in that. Smart cities, cars are being automated, and we can't influence that anymore. With big nudging, our public discourse is being manipulated, our decisions, our emotions, and also election results are being decided. We don't even have to go vote anymore. And I mean, this really can't be true, right? When are we going to start opposing this? You and you. Something has to be done. Bille, it's time. Do you have any ideas? Banani, what can we do?
It's easy. Thanks, Dirk.
Das ist also der traurige Ist-Zustand, den wir alle kennen.
The sad status quo that we know. A bit of time ago, maybe people had the idea that politics could save us. Meinrad Starostik, who should have been here, fell sick, but he will be here and he will tell us how politics should save us for data misuse and data stealing and hacking and surveillance. Okay, so my topic is current state of surveillance And data privacy on a state level, the Snowden revelations did not lead to a come down, but they have improved, like they have increased. They have been understood by the surveillance state and the NSA as a chance to survey even more. In Austria, we have more surveillance than ever on the street, on bank accounts, in letters. And in Switzerland, police and the secret services get, with new laws, the opportunity to survey the whole populace. Also, insurances are able to survey their customers. In Germany, we have a system of surveillance laws, like private video surveillance, accessing photo data, and also important for video recognition in train station and public spaces. There is data retention laws, the state Trojan, that is called the Bundestrojan, but also on the countries, and so on and so forth. And there's the endless data collection by the big ones from Silicon Valley, and there's small and medium-sized kids from Europe, like Avato and all the publishers. We are consumers who are in helpless situations because the websites of the internet are riddled with all kinds of spy tools who take in our likes, our habitats, and possible wishes of consummation. We are not only the consumers, we are also the producers of data, which is stolen from us without us getting anything back. And they are used by others. Behind this, there's two types of human images. In Europe, we have an idea of a human where the right to privacy is very highly valued, and that is all in both the individual person towards the state, but also individuals between each others. In Silicon Valley, you have a different image of humans. You have the idea of a cybernetic machine that you can influence, how you already heard in Dirk's talk. At this point, by law, we have reached a lot, like recently through the GDPR, but in Austria, we only do whatever brings us profit. And this is the first weakness of this whole judicial systems, that judgments only count inside the jurisdiction of the law. So just if Facebook does wrong to person A, they don't have to also stop doing wrong to person B. And so everyone has to go to court against them individually. And this will only change once the pattern court will be introduced. And so now you understand why there's such a backlash against this, because it would be an effective method of resisting against mighty large companies. The other weakness of our jurisdiction is the process of creating laws itself regarding state surveillance laws. The surveillance freaks are in power and create laws that are against our constitutions, like data retention, for example. And ignoring the law goes through until even into the administration. Here is an example that I read in the paper the other day. Like you all know, ever since 2017 at the train station Südkreuz, there is an experiment to recognize faces. The Minister of the Interior, Krings, says face recognition works in 99% of all cases, and the surveillance can also be used to identify behaviors and also identify lost suitcases. If this all works, then we can extend this to all train stations and airports. He also said we have to clear questions of constitution. I can help. The Constitutional Court says towards total surveillance that the idea of surveillance of the individual cannot be completely surveyed because this is part of the identity of the Bundesrepublik Deutschland. So there is not one question to be discussed. There is a question about the identity of the constitution of the Federal Republic of Germany. So if the Minister of the Interior is gleefully ignoring this, it shows how little we can trust the decision makers in politics. So this convinced me not only to continue fighting the judicial fight, like with my various court cases that I started, but also creating a technical defense. So we are attacked using technology, so let's defend ourselves using technology. To do this, we need a form of organization. And this form of organization is a community that supports its members with their financial and cultural ideas and doings. This is based on everybody is doing something. So there will be no 1, 2, or 3 leaders that tell everyone where the journey is going. Because we want more than just being active in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, we have founded an organization that is valid in all states of the European Union and are also able to be active outside of the EU. So let us start this and make encryption commonplace. Dear friends, there is only one thing helping. Become part of the PEP co-op.
Wir alle, die wir
all of us
mehr oder weniger
who more or less live online or spend a large part of our life there, we all feel that something is not right. We don't know what it is, but it's a bad feeling. We can't really name it. Is it surveillance? Is it hacker attacks? You don't really realize them. You only realize it when it's too late, when some form of government changes, when democracy vanishes overnight, then it can be too late. Now Mr. Hernâni and Nana Karlstetter will explain to us how our idea of our defense will work in a technical way. So it's going to get complicated, no? Okay, please explain. Nana is out. Okay. So unencrypted emails are easily readable as postcards, and many of you will also already have realized this, but some of you may have not. So they can not only can they be read, they are read, and they are searched for keywords and patterns, and they are saved because of political control and control of the populace, but also out of economic exploitation reasons. This happens to all of us, not only especially politically active people. Pretty easy privacy, or PEP for short, makes encryption more easy, and it helps you defend against mass surveillance. So we want to make encryption available for everyone, to make the human rights to a public good, and realize, because we are of the opinion that for democracy to work, that human rights do not only stay on paper, but also move into a digital realm.
And encryption for us is the way to go to achieve these aims, at least in some areas. And so encryption should be the new standard, not the exception as it is right now. Applause. Thank you. And that's why our motto is privacy by default. So that privacy protection is just happening. And we want to achieve this by developing software. We go down the technical route to automatically encrypt our digital communications. We started with text messages such as email, but in the long run, we want to encrypt all digital textual communication that's happening. PEP software is very easy to use. We build it, we control it. Each PEP software program is always open source. And many of our releases are freely available, as in you don't have to pay for them. PEP software can be downloaded in app stores, in add-on stores. It automatically, there's a pre-configuration, so you don't need any training to use it. And there's nothing required to use it, and there's nothing required to correctly use it. So if you've been to a crypto party once, you come home afterwards and you're like, do I remember this correctly? Did I do this right? Is it is only half of my message encrypted now? And so that's not the case with our products. We use state-of-the-art encryption, and this automatic encryption on an expert level is available for everyone. And so all of these expert options are being configured automatically in the background. The user doesn't have to do this work themselves. And so all of these steps that you had to once explain to people at crypto parties are just written in protocol and automatically run in the background. We encrypt end-to-end. There's no central server, no service in between, because those would be prone to attacks from outsiders or even state actors. PEP isn't just a new app where you have to register an account on a new platform and then you're like locked in there. We have a very agnostic approach. So here you see all the communication channels that a person might use: Gmail, Facebook, Twitter. And so all of this is supposed to be done transparently, cross-platform on different OSs, in different browsers that could run PEP if there's enough support from the vendors. And so the idea is that this way you could communicate with people you know in the most private way possible. PEP software is already available. For example, we already have companies like Red Hat working with us. There's a plugin, and we have for Android and Outlook we have something already, and for Thunderbird we offer the Enigmail add-on. And so for new users at crypto parties, they can just install that, and we have an iOS version in beta. And this is what it looks like. We have this sort of street sign language. So if there's encryption possible, we use yellow to display that. If there's no encryption available, it's gray. And if there's if the encryption is verified, then it turns green. That way you can mitigate against phishing attacks to make sure that some end user's device hasn't been hacked. So this isn't just like snake oil, but we really provide a solution that increases the cost of surveillance by multitudes. So you can imagine if, just like in Switzerland until 1989, but probably it's soon going to start again, someone was standing in some street corner, you know, with a notepad and noting who's getting on the tram, who's getting off the tram. This is really, really costly. So data retention and other measures like searching through a whole bunch of mails, this way will become unsustainable. And we need to get to this point where state actors and also private actors don't have all these data available anymore to search. So we've had enough scandals this year to, you know, prove to the public the dangers of this data being available unencrypted. And so this is what it looks like in Outlook. You can write unencrypted emails, of course. And again, if it's encrypted, it'll turn yellow. And if it's encrypted and trusted, you've verified the encryption, it turns green. And what we'd like to do in the long term is move over all of this text messaging into GNU-net, G-N-U-net, which is a peer-to-peer framework by the GNU network to help devices connect with each other in a more secure way, in a way that's supposed to avoid metadata surveillance. And what I have to point out is that GNU-net was originally developed to share files, but it's basically a whole new internet, a replacement for the whole current internet stack. So we can have a new DNS system with new name stack, and basically you could put the whole internet on a new foundation. And if we would have enough funding, then we just hire a lot of people and just do that. And a special feature that we have that's not be active in the current versions of the PEP software, there's a synchronization feature so that the encrypted messages on your phone can also be read on your desktop email client, and there's also a chat app. So this is just like, using Bluetooth pairing. You have to verify the two devices to make sure that it's synchronized with the right device. And then you could also synchronize calendar and contact information this way, so that you could share it safely with other people without needing some sort of cloud in between. I'd like to say something about our cooperation, the PEP Corp. We're going to start with this PEP terminology right now, but it's not going to be that way forever. And at first, we're going to start with web software. So we're going to encrypt, for example, Gmail messages. Later on, we could build add-ons that would encrypt Twitter messages. And the idea behind this form of cooperation is that all members can have a say in what the community, the organization should do, and how to realize our common goal of privacy.
Ja. So, jetzt sage ich auch
Okay,
was. Hallo,
now it's my turn. My name is Marc-Uwe. I programmed all of this. No. I don't know if you know me, but I'm just the bait, basically. Let's not fool ourselves. I'm here so that as many people as possible come here. And yesterday I didn't make it to the rehearsal, and I was like, oh my god, I still have to rehearse. Luckily there was an article in the Tagesschau about this show here. So I read this and I thought, aha, so this is what it's about. And then underneath it, so you're not allowed to do this, but I did read the comments. And I brought one of them here. I think I'm creating a new form of art, commenting comments. I'm just going to test this with you today. So you're going to ask yourself, what is this dude doing? I commented the comment. This is the comment, so now I'm going to read it. So the comment is by Max Mustermann, John Doe. I changed the name, of course, and the title is Digital Armament Race. So making encryptions default only helps those who have something to hide. Footnote? There he is. The default idiocy that lives in this topic and content. I don't have nothing to hide, so I don't care. The other day I read in a book that if John Doe really doesn't care, then he might tell his coworker who works for the same company and does the same job, he should just tell her what he earns and she doesn't earn, for example. So now you realize that everyone has things who they want to keep to themselves, and this is, oh God, I almost said it is good that way, but it is good that way. Okay, I'm continuing. It only helps those who have something to hide. That's not always bad people, but sometimes they are. Okay? This is not gendered. You realize this. Okay, we don't say this is not just bad boys or bad girls, but sometimes they are. Now I want to get back to the title. He's saying that big data critics are creating a fear, but what I'm saying is you're creating fear yourself. How can you... That is like the problem, like being the problem and calling yourself the alternative. Okay, so continues, and I'm not saying that terrorists, footnote, but also, yes, this is the default thing that we talk about every idiocies. It is because of the terrorists. The only other thing that is used almost as often is because of the jobs. I would be interested what would happen if some politic decision maker just like is torn between those two things. So imagine there's a terrorist lobby group that has talked to him and given him financial aid, and there's people are afraid for the jobs of terrorists. How would he decide? Okay, but it's not about the terrorists, says John Doe, but organized crime and Internet.
Hunderttausende Menschen Milliardenbeträge schädigen.
Internet deceivers who make billion-euro commerce. I want to see that statistic. Like, those numbers seem very arbitrary. They look like numbers who Thomas de Maizière could have thought of in a press conference. But oh well. They embrace the complete encrypted communication, the criminals. But you could also say that the criminals have it harder to do their crimes if they didn't know as much about us and our data, but that's maybe too much. Okay, now is my favorite sentence. For me and my idea of privacy, it's enough that I'm as completely private when I'm offline. Okay. What does that mean for John Doe? The thing that I imagine is that when he closes YouPorn and turns off his computer, I imagine he has a desktop computer, maybe a 486 with Windows 3.11, and he shuts it down, so he's offline and private. Excuse me, where has he been the last 20 years? There is no offline anymore. I don't have to tell you this. Okay, it continues. Online, the battle lines are where punishments are evil, like for example in downloads. Huh? For my privacy, I don't need the internet, where in massive networks I can coordinate steps. I have to say, towards the end, I love the comment even more because it becomes so cryptic. It is also almost a precursor to encryption. So, from my definition of privacy, I don't need that. That seems to be a very narrow definition of privacy. So, is it like only what you need? I tell you the things I don't need. So, a basic problem here is also that John Doe he thinks it's okay that the good government is surveying him, because the good government then also gets the terrorists and the criminals. Now, maybe talk to a Chinese regime critic, how they see that about the good government and if the government always stays good. But okay, this is only a tiny part of the problem field. The other part is that not only the government, but also each company also listens in and defines. And I don't want to quote Foucault, but I do want to quote Foucault, but I can't think of a good quote. But in principle, the thing is that someone who knows that they are being surveyed is behaving differently than someone who is free. And this is the crux of the argument. If I'm surveyed, I'm not free. And this is why you have to do something. Okay, thank you. And now we're going to discuss some other questions, but that's back to my co-workers.
Yeah, Hernâni.
All right,
Nana.
Hernâni, Nana. So far, like this technological totalitarianism, you know, we've been headed straight towards it, and everybody was like, we can't do anything about it. Now in China, we have these scores for everything you do. You get like bonus points or negative points if you don't go visit your grandma often enough, if you walk over a red light, if you pay the rent too late, you have the wrong friends, you read critical journalism, you might lose your job, and also what services you can use, what benefits you get, and where you can travel. All of this depends on your behavior. And so we want to try to break free of that. And you're trying to give us this technological solution to getting back our privacy, getting back our freedom. How long is it going to take? When are we going to get it? This also depends on the funding, because of course there's enough people around that you could employ that are currently working in the academic field. And also it's a political issue, just like here on the big screen. These are problems that can't be solved with the encryption of text messages, but rather with political actions. But of course, a massive amount of this, of the data being out there, can be reduced by starting to encrypt messages. And when you have messages in some sort of cloud on platforms, that's not good. And it's basically, the doomsday clock has already struck, so to speak. But if so far for encryption, you have to have this public key and put it on your website. You had to have it in your email signature, and you had to convince all of your friends to also do this. And that's why most people didn't even try to tackle encryption. Yeah, with PEP, this is really going to change. The keys are going to be created automatically and sent to your friends. So this is going to be in browser updates. We're in talks with Mozilla right now, and we really hope to have this installed by default, because obviously Mozilla is interested in privacy and wants to encourage users to encrypt their communication. And so this would be a real benefit if it would come pre-installed in various sorts of products. And also, for example, in the administrative sector or in private companies for large business software, it would be really helpful to have that in there as well. So so you could also communicate with other sorts of encryption. And wouldn't that also make businesses safer? In Switzerland, now they have like this new surveillance agency law, and they're totally tearing us apart. So they don't have any encryption themselves, but of course they're looking for terrorists. And especially for smaller countries, they could really protect against other state actors, because encryption obviously helps data surveillance, or even, the surveillance of satellites. And everyone could do that, but yeah, they don't have to. And how do you differ from Digital Courage, a German nonprofit? Well, we take the technical route. Mike already mentioned this. The judicial way that Digital Courage and other groups have undertaken, are really important, and we support that. And we've looked a lot at that, but we also want to build a bridge between the technology that comes out of this open source activist technologist circles, but is being developed in these circles because people think about these political issues and want to really make this available for the masses, for the whole populace. NGOs, we need lots of them. We need lots of organizations, not just one. No single organizations can achieve this. And I don't want all of you to, donate to our cause, but donate to the one NGO that you prefer the most, that you think, yeah, this is it. And so, also we're in the board of advisors, and, we try to keep the brand PEP and our code from falling into the wrong hands. So if a company would be, bought by the CIA, we would discontinue our cooperation with them. And so this way, we want to make sure that the principle behind PEP and also our branding as PEP can't be simply taken over by bad actors. And so we as a community can find a solution to make surveillance of each and everyone on every medium so expensive for surveillance actors that they can't do it anymore, and that we can start marching towards freedom.
Also, nach diesen bewegenden Worten.
So after these moving words, you know, we need to relax and get some good vibrations back in the room. And that's why we asked Marc-Uwe to read something to us. Yeah.
Ach, ja, ich stehe, keine Ahnung.
Okay, I'm standing, I guess. It's a bit weird to hold the microphone.
Ja, ich habe eigentlich zufällig ein Buch zum Thema geschrieben.
Just accidentally I wrote a book about the topic. I'm just gonna read the whole thing.
Nein, ich lese.
No.
Wie spät ist denn eigentlich?
What time is it anyway?
Ich lese mal vor.
Okay, I'm just gonna start to read. There's advertisements in the book. That's like it in the future. This is the future that we're trying to prevent. There's ads in the book that changes depending on the reader. So I'm reading this advertisement. It's called "Are you feeling sure, secure?" Even though almost all streets in Quality City have surveillance cameras, over 64% of the inhabitants feel insecure, and rightfully so. In every dark corner there could be a terrorist or even a jobless person. Is total surveillance not total enough for you? Then maybe buy a self-surveillance drone by SuperSecure, SS. These drones automatically activate once you leave the house. They follow you and film each of your steps and stream everything into the cloud. You never walk alone. Should you fall victim to a crime, your relatives can look at it in real time. SuperSecures, drones that are worth it.
Ja, das wäre vielleicht auch was für
Okay, that is maybe something for John Doe as well. If he watches this online, I could maybe start a comment war with him. Now I'm reading something. It's a fable, one could say. There's an animal in there. The fable is views from a balcony. We're sitting on our balcony and are looking at two people in the other house across the street who are having sex with open windows. It's not very exciting, but it's like YouTube. Like once it starts, a mixture of curiosity and disgust just forces you to watch. What is that over there? I point to the left. Is that an arm or a leg? The kangaroo takes some binoculars and says, "A leg." It gives me the binoculars. Shortly, I see a face. "Ha," I say. "I know this guy. I saw him in the soccer stadium. He's the privacy officer for Google Germany." "Really?" asks the kangaroo. Sounds like someone who's supposed to demilitarize at Heckler & Koch. It takes out a camera from its pouch and starts filming. I read online, it says, that in the US there are seminars where you learn how to watch others at doing sex while not being found. Even the first part of the story lets me doubt the truthiness of this story. You read that something is supposed to be in the US. Like beginning of the 90s, you would have impressed me with this. The kangaroo says, "Oh, but it's true. At the end of the voyeur seminar, you even get a certificate." So there's someone who's a voyeur in a tree, and once he gets caught, he shows you his certificate and says, "Don't worry, I'm a professional." "Maybe," says the kangaroo. The people in the other house are separating. Once the guy looks over, the kangaroo takes out some pieces of paper and shows a friendly 5.8, but the kangaroo only gives him a 2.3. "Too short," shouts the kangaroo, and also not very original. I don't know if he would have passed part where we shouldn't have been seen. The guy shouts, what about privacy? The kangaroo shouts, if you don't have anything to hide, you don't have anything to fear. And it holds up a sign called Fitness Center. It shouts, we're only collecting your data to show you more fitting ads for your situation. Message from the future. Now, by the selfie drone. More and more people just do self-surveillance using selfie drones. This is a very good idea. For example, how a deadly accidents on Elon Musk Plaza could be found out in seconds because both participants used selfie drones. It happened like this. When the two businessmen walked against each other, above their heads, the drones crashed into each other, and one of them fell onto the head of one of them. Oh well, maybe he should have bought a drone by Super Secure, SS, instead of a cheap variant from Pretty Secure, PS. A speaker for Pretty Secure refused any responsibility. The software error that caused the crash was not its fault, but instead gravity was to blame, because without gravity there wouldn't have been a crash. Okay, that's it. Do you guys want to say something? Okay, one more thing. Just continue. Okay. Okay, this is the encore, it seems, from my book. Any wishes? Okay, Peter's problem. This is what the chapter is called. It's a good idea. So basically this book is taking part in the future. There's Peter. Peter has a problem, so this is why the chapter is called Peter's Problem. There's some kind of online merchant, it's called The Shop, and they created a new system where you can get all the products that you want without ordering them, because the system knows what you want. And Peter's problem is he got something that he didn't want. And now the whole book is basically him trying to give it back. Right now he's meeting an old guy who's being an old guy. This was a very good explanation. Old guy starts using all 10 fingers to hack into his keyboard. Okay, let's see, he murmurs. What are you doing? I am hacking into the customer database of The Shop. Okay, here we got you. He's reading some of the numbers on his screen. This is weird, he says. Microphone holder. You gotta imagine. What? Peter asks. So, for reasons of analysis, The Shop is putting a label on each of its customers, a so-called cluster. Like people from cluster 4096 is white men who have more than 2 private jets and whose wives from a quantity land are at least 32 years younger than themselves. So I asked. He says, you're in cluster 1291. Black women in menopause, without a partner, no income, and a fable for old comedies with Jennifer Aniston, and at least 2 cats.
Aber das ist doch Unsinn, ruft Peter.
But that is weird, calls Peter. Old guy looks at him. Now you say it. He laughs. Oh, excuse me. My fault. He hits his screen with his hand. It flickers a bit. Now we got it, he says. You're in category 8,492. White guys below 32, with low income, slightly racist tendencies, small penis, and interested in big soccer events. But that's also not true, shouts Peter. Everyone who knows me knows that I don't go to large soccer stadiums, among other things. So was Kiki right? Peter asks, is my profile right? Old guy nods. The problem is bigger than you think. Why? The net is morphing. That means that every individual gets their own digital world. Not only news and movies and whatever, even like instead offers, prices, design, structure of the net change depending on who's entering this hall of mirrors and how they feel. If you are horny, you might see offers for highly erotic lady bots. If you're in a bad mood, they want to give you psychopharmaceuticals. And if you're feeling suicidal, they might give you a Bluetooth pistol for printing yourself. Did you hear the saying, everyone lives in their own world? This is not a saying in the digital world. It is true. You are living in your own world, a world that constantly changes. We can't make the mistake that everyone else does. The net doesn't adapt to you, but it adapts to the image that it has of you, your profile. Do you know your problem now? If your profiles are wrong, then you're living in the wrong world, says Peter. Then you're living in the wrong world, repeats the old guy. He's giggling. No, I just gotta turn the page. Surely I'm not the only one, Peter shouts. Why is this not a topic that's being discussed? Well, maybe the topic is discussed, but not in your newsfeed, old guy says. Or maybe it's because most people don't realize that their profiles are wrong. They just turn into whatever the system thinks they are. How do you mean? It's the algorithm where you have to go along. Old guy says, and dances along the rhythm. It looks weird. It looks desperate. He stops. If the system thinks you're a loser who spends his days eating junk food and watching trash movies, so it will give you trash movies and advertising for junk food, it will bring you a partner where it has a similarly low opinion of them. And if you look for an apartment, it will just give you like holes. If you're looking for jobs, it will not show you offers where it doesn't see you as qualified. If you still make to apply, algorithms will sieve you out long before any human will actually see your letter. So if you only have the options that a loser has, it's very hard not to be a loser. A profile is a self-fulfilling prophecy, a self-fulfilling identity. This works in a way, like this works the other way around too. So if the system thinks you're awesome, but I don't think that's your problem. No, Peter says. Peter scratches his head. So because of my profiles are wrong, I live in the wrong world. Yes, the old guy says. That is your problem. This is Peter's problem. Oh, that sounds good. This should be like a standing term. Hereby I christen this problem Peter's problem. It makes me happy that I created a new term right now. A phrase that will live longer than its creator and be integrated into normal language. Soon people will say like, I'm up to my neck in Peter's problem. Psychiatrists will say, oh, what you have is a clear case of Peter's problem. Or a father will tell his daughter, don't say it like that. You're pretending you have Peter's problem. Maybe even the female president will say, all of us have Peter's problem. Thank you.
Also, vielen Dank für eure
All right,
Aufmerksamkeit.
thanks a lot for all of your attention. I hope you could understand this. It wasn't that complicated. The more members we get, the sooner we can finish the story and start encrypting. And here's our first new member.
In der Tat bin ich erst vor ein paar Tagen
Indeed. Only a few days ago I met these guys, and so far they've showed me a lot of cool and interesting stuff. And I do believe that we have a vision here, and the idea of having privacy by default pre-configured, this isn't just some sort of bubble. This is doable. We can do this. This is a little bit in the future, but we already have the software and the methods that we can use, that we can apply. This isn't just something we made up. PGP is real. And, do you really want to go to, and in the future, crypto parties will be like flirting and drinking instead of exchanging keys. And this is going to start this evening. Today we're here to meet you all. And there's still 3 seats on stage. And we also have the small party wagon. And we'd really like for you to join us and talk to us about our project and hopefully also join us and become members. Thanks a lot.